Alright, hey y'all. We're getting towards supper time again, and so that brings me back to the stove. And I thought tonight I would show you this awesome little side dish that I came up with a couple days ago when I was playing around in my kitchen. I'm going to bring you a creamy grits Primavera. Here we go. Now back here I've got 4 cups of chicken broth and about a cup and another couple tablespoons of a good stone ground white grit. And that's grit in the singular. You know, my daddy loved grits. He used to say he just wished somebody bring him a 20-pound grit. And he used to crack me up. Alright, so over here, while my grits are cooking off back here, because they take about 20 minutes or so if you want a good stone ground grit, which I think this dish calls for. So up here, and I've just got this over medium heat. Let's see. Let me have him. I'm going to melt off about 1.5 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to add just a little bit of a good high-quality olive oil that's not extra virgin. That's a full-bodied oil. I want the flavor of the olive oil in there. And an extra virgin olive oil, you're going to lose a lot of the flavor. It's a little too delicate to handle the heat and keep its flavor. Now, right here, can we see what we've got? Alright, all I have here is just a little bit of onion, and this is maybe a 1/4 cup of chopped onion. Here we go. And looky here, look what I found. This is exciting. I live in a small town, so more unusual vegetables are kind of unusual for us. So when we get them, I love to get my hands on them and play with them. This is a broccolette, which is, I think, a very close relative to a broccolini, which is simply an Italian vegetable. It's a derivation of a broccoli. And they're delicious. It's got much the same flavor, a little more delicate, but it's beautiful when you cook with it. So I'm adding the onion into my skillet with the butter, and I'm going to go ahead and put the broccolette in here at the same time, because these two things need to cook at about the same rate and for the same amount of time. I drop him into my sink. And at this point, you really don't have to do a whole lot. Our grits are beautiful. They've come to a nice, thick consistency. And I will say, when you do grits for this dish, go ahead and put a little more of the grits to water ratio than you would normally use. Make it a little heavy, like maybe just another tablespoon or 2. If you're making a great thick pot, maybe as much as 1/4 cup more. You want it nice and thick, and we're going to add some things in a minute that are going to loosen it up, so we want to prepare for that ahead of time. Now at this point, to keep the color in that beautiful broccolette, just a touch of kosher salt, and that will help maintain its color while it cooks. It also helps a little bit with the texture too. We're going to do something else in just a second. But right now is when you want to taste the grits, because they're just about done. Actually, that's about right. When I put together the chicken broth and the grits, I added a good big pinch of kosher salt. If you don't salt grains or pastas, couscous, any of those things, you probably are going to have a hard time later on getting them to taste just right. You need to give them a chance to absorb the flavors at the beginning. Okay. You can smell it. That's what you want. It's really important that you pay attention to your food and what your food is doing. And one of the best signals that it's going to give you is the fragrance. And you can see the onion. Well, here, let me show you. Can we get it? See how our onion is beginning to turn that beautiful translucent? It doesn't take long, and you don't want to cook your vegetables to mush. One of the beautiful things about this is that we're using vegetables that have that lovely, distinct flavor. We want to hold on to that. We don't want to lose it by overcooking them. At the same time, we want to use the heat, a little bit of butter, a little bit of olive oil to bring out those flavors and intensify them. So here's our next trick. I love the colors that go into this. And these were all the pretty fresh veggies that I found at my market. And right here we have cherry tomatoes, and all I did was quarter them. We have a little bit of really pretty red pepper and a little bit of orange pepper. And another really wonderful thing about this dish is you can use whichever combinations of fresh vegetables that you manage to find at your grocery store. This is what I found. Now, you want to add them at a second time because the peppers and the tomato are a little more delicate than the broccolette and the onion. So they cook at different times. And you want to kind of layer in those flavors and bring each one out as it should be brought out. So these are going to take just another minute. And I put a tiny bit of salt in there a minute ago, but just to hedge my bets. And you can see when I say a tiny bit of salt, we're talking a tiny bit of salt. You want tiny bits added with each ingredient to help intensify each flavor instead of one big batch, you know, at the end. I think if you salt judiciously throughout the process and you taste as you go, you're going to have a much richer, fabulous flavor in your finished dish. Now, the peppers and the tomatoes only need another minute. Where's my clean spoon? I'm going to come in here and I'm going to sneak a little tiny piece of the broccolette so I can judge how my dish is coming around. It's really nice. Okay. Oh yeah, that was good. Alright, right here I have just a little bit of chicken broth. And I did put about half chicken broth and half Chardonnay. If you don't want to cook with wine, you don't have to. Just add a little bit more of the chicken broth. And all we're doing here is giving ourselves a chance to bring up any of the caramelized flavors that were on the bottom of our pan. And the broth and the wine have this lovely richness of flavor and just one more element to the dish. Now, while we're waiting on that to happen, this is about 4 ounces of cream cheese. He's going to come back in here, and we're going to stir him in. Ah, my pot's hot. We're going to stir this in and let him come together while we're waiting on our veggies to finish reducing just a little bit. Now, reducing is no big mystery. You're simply shrinking something. Unfortunately, it's not your waistline. Actually, this dish is really not bad at all. What we want to happen is we want to allow the water to cook out of our vegetables, and what's left are the flavor compounds that make the dish so delicious. Alright, so at this point, we are almost ready to go. And you see that one was really, really quick. Remember to put your pot of grits on a few minutes early and you're good to go. Now here's how I like to do it. I'm going to take my spoon. I'm going to take about half of my vegetable mixture. I want to leave myself a pretty broccoli. Just like that. And I'm going to allow my juices right in here. But give yourself just a touch. Then, fold this together. Now don't beat up your vegetables. They're going to be good to you in a minute. So be nice to them. And look how pretty that is. But, so that the veggies and their beautiful color don't get covered up, I saved ourselves some for the top of our beautiful little bowl here. And just like this. There. That is what I like. Right there. And that is our creamy, cheesy grits Primavera. Pretty cool, huh?